What's up, everybody? Today's fly is going to be a saltwater slash bass fishing slash trout fishing streamer, the clouser. And my version is a little bit different than the standard version. Standard version is tied using bucktail. I prefer using craft fur. I've just caught way more fish using a craft fur clouser than I have a bucktail clouser. I just had a friend text me a picture of a sailfish he caught today, out fishing Florida saltwater. Got me thinking about my favorite saltwater and bass flies. So for this fly, if you're gonna fish saltwater, I recommend the 811S stainless. This is a size 6. I tie it all the way up to 2/0 for big ones. Or if you know you're just using it for bass, I really like this U502. It's a lot less expensive, but it works really well also. So for this one, I'll go ahead and use the U502 hook. We're gonna put it in the vise. The other materials that you'll need, lead eyes. These are just simple painted red lead eyes. You can use whatever colors you want. You can use whatever weights you want, depending on how deep you want your fly to run. You're gonna use 3 different colors of craft fur. This is white, tan, or sand, they call it, and chartreuse. And then you're gonna use a little bit of chartreuse crystal flash. And that's it. I'm gonna use 6/0 white thread for this. You can go a little bit heavier, but 6/0 tied correctly with a little bit of super glue holds just fine. So you're gonna start by laying a small thread base where the eyes are gonna be. You don't wanna go back too far with this, but you're just gonna build a little thread base right where you're gonna put the lead eyes. Biggest mistake I see people make when they first start tying clousers is they put the eyes too close to the eye of the hook. So I'm gonna leave a nice little space there, and notice I'm tying the eyes in on the what will be the top of the hook, which is, when you start fishing this, gonna end up being the bottom of the hook, because the eyes are gonna make this hook flip over. So I am doing something called Xing in the eyes, where I'm just wrapping back and forth. I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if I can do it without, there we go. I can figure this out. So I'm just Xing back and forth over the top. I'm then actually gonna wrap around the base of those X thread wraps, and I might do a couple more. Now at this point, I usually hit this with a little drop of super glue, and that really just locks in those eyes. The thing that you don't want to have happen is for your eyes to slip on you once you start fishing this. So eyes are attached. I am now going to go back to, I'll go ahead and do a small thread base on this. It's not that important, but I'm gonna just give it a little bit of white color there. Go back to the eye. My first color that I'm going to use is white. This is going to be the bottom of the fly, remember, because this fly is going to flip over. So this is kind of the belly color. I'm going to cut about a pencil diameter right there of the craft fur. I'm going to pull a little chunk out. I'm going to take a comb out all of those little under furs. I want this to be as thin as possible. I just want that taper that you get with craft fur. So I'm going to take this and tie it in right behind the eye of the hook and right over those eyes. Now I'm going to talk about this for a second. When you go over the eyes, I actually like to X this in over the eyes. So I'm going to take my thread and wrap it on top, tie it down behind the eyes, and I'm going to wrap it over. And I'm going to X over this a couple times. That just secures that craft fur and keeps it from fraying or falling apart around the eyes. So then I wrap all the way down the hook shank, and don't let it slip. That is my belly. Sparse. I want to keep this sparse. I'm going to trim all of this excess. And now I'm ready for the next 2 parts. I'm going to put a small piece of chartreuse craft fur on the other side of this. I don't want this to be nearly as big as what I put on the bottom. You can see it's just a little splash of color. So I'm going to turn my vise. I'm going to try and pull out that under fur again, and I'm going to try and size this so it's similar in length to that white. Now this, as you think about it, is the middle part of the fly. So white is the bottom, the chartreuse is the middle. Okay, last part, actually last two parts. We'll go ahead and at this point, hit it with a little bit of flash. Don't overdo it. You want 2 or 3 little strands of crystal flash. I'm gonna X this in or put it in by putting it right over the thread. So that's gonna actually turn it into like 6 strands, and that locks it in, okay? And then I'm gonna hit the last part, and chartreuse and white clousers have probably been one of the biggest producing clousers of all time. But by putting this little sand color or tan, I think you are much more closely imitating a lot of the bait fish that swim out there. And this just really works well. So now I'm gonna tie in the tan on top of the crystal flash and on top of the chartreuse craft hair. Trim that. Now I'm gonna pop this out. Even though I'm not done, I could wait till I'm all done. I want you to see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna pop this out, and I'm gonna take the craft fur and just kind of split it and the crystal flash so that it's on both sides of the hook. I'm gonna stick it back in the vise. And this is a done fly. I got a whip finish and a little head cement, which is gonna be super glue once again, and this fly is ready to go. Grab my whip finisher. So there you have it, the craft fur clouser. Again, probably less than a minute if you're not talking about it to tie this fly. Works really well. And remember, it's gonna ride like this. So you're gonna have your white on the belly, little flash, and chartreuse in the middle, and some tan or sand color on the top. Great fish catcher everywhere. Saltwater, bass fishing. I've caught walleye on it. I've caught just about every species that you can think of on this fly. Redfish, speckled trout, flounder. It's just a good all-around fish catching fly. Good luck. I hope it works for you. Keep on tying.